Yellow 13, the sympathetic antagonist. Ace Combat 4 was the start of the modded style of Ace Combat that would last for the entire series from that point onwards. The antagonist, therefore, would set the standard for the antagonist in the upcoming games. It had to be a comparison to Mobius 1, who would fulfill the role of the protagonist, and a notable character in his own right. The storytelling method for Ace Combat 4 uses anime-like cutscenes, but without any movement in them. They're instead still pictures. 13's appearances in the game are limited, only appearing in 3 missions himself, his squadron in a total of 5, but he features prominently in the cutscene, and is represented by his relationship with the story narrator throughout these cutscenes. Yellow Squadron, at the outbreak of the Continental War, is assigned to protect the Stonehenge Railgun Network from ISAF raids. During one of the raids, Yellow 13 downs a plane that ends up crashing and killing the story narrator's parents, resulting in the events that follow the story narrator throughout the cutscenes. His squadron is then based in San Sebastian once it's taken over, to protect Stonehenge from a close to scramble base. The first direct encounter between 13 and the narrator occurs. 13 is playing the narrator's father's favourite song and asks the narrator to join in with the harmonica. 13 and the other Yellows are then scrambled to stop a raid on a fuel complex by ISAF. This is the first encounter between 13 and Mobius 1. And during this encounter, Mobius, as the player, is forced to run away due to game limitation. The narrator then becomes an unofficial part of Yellow Squadron, and he spends most of his time around the base, as his relationship with both the pilots and ground crew of the squadron grow, specifically with 13, who begins to see the side story narrator as a surrogate son. Yellow Squadron's runway is bombed by the San Sebastian Resistance, injuring 13's wingman Yellow 4 and damaging 4's plane. At the same time, Mobius 1 and other ISAF planes launch an attack on Stonehenge, which forces 13 and the other Yellows to scramble and defend the railguns. 4 insists on going to keep 13 safe, despite the damage to her plane, which slows her engines. Stonehenge is destroyed by Mobius 1 before Yellow Squadron can get there, and Yellow 4 is taken out by Mobius 1 due to her slowed engines impairing her reaction speeds. After Yellow 4's death, 13 becomes withdrawn and only really converses with the narrator, outside of what is required for maintenance with his crew. The rotation of Yellow Squadron also picks up, with himself being the only permanent member, and others rotating to fill the rapidly depleted Erusian Air Force, courtesy of Mobius 1. When he finds the Resistance member who blamed the bombs, he almost kills her if it weren't for the narrator's intervention, and him finally voicing how he truly feels about 13 and the other Erusians' presence in San Sebastian. 13 and the rest of the Yellows eventually had to withdraw from San Sebastian in the face of an ISAF advance. The narrator follows Yellow Squadron on their path to Farbanti, hoping to get a glimpse of them. He is present during the final battle of the war at Farbanti. During the siege of Farbanti, the remaining 5 members of Yellow Squadron make a last stand against Mobius 1, who shoots down all 13 swingmen to the and then 13 himself falls shortly after, signaling the official end of the war. 13's body isn't recovered and is assumed to have burned up with his Su-37. The narrator sets up a common grave for 13 and 4. A while after the war, he writes a letter to Mobius 1, saying that in his opinion at least, 13 would have died happy fighting against an opponent like Mobius over the skies of Farbanti, and also recounting all the events that had occurred between the narrator and 13 during the Continental War. 13's story is the opposite of Mobius's, whereas Mobius's can be classified as a heroic epic and a typical hero's journey, showing the rise from nothingness at North Point all the way to the final battle of Farbanti and Megalith. 13's story is a tragedy that shows his fall from grace through the eyes of the side story narrator and his eventual death over Farbanti. 13 is the first antagonist that plays a key part of the Ace Combat series' anti-war messaging by showing that you're fighting human beings, not just mindless drones and typical mustache-twirling villains. They give 13 character in the story, and it makes players regret having to shoot him down. It sets 13 up as an almost brother figure to Mobius 1, that if the war had never gone out, then the war had never occurred, they might have flown the skies together as allies. 13 is the antagonist, and not the villain. He's not some maniac playing on conquering the world, nor is he threatening the lives of millions in urban centers. He's just a pilot doing his job for his country. The theory of antagonist, not villain, is what most AC opposing pilots and aces would follow, with one exception.